The crowd parted like a river around a boulder as the motorcade rolled to a halt. The air in Ouagadougou buzzed with heat and cheers, people clapping, waving flags, standing on tiptoes just to catch a glimpse. President Ibrahim Traoré had come to speak at a youth empowerment event in the heart of the capital. But everything, the speeches, the cameras, the security detail, faded into silence when his eyes locked onto one man sitting on the curb, barefoot, head down, and legs drawn close like he was shrinking into the earth. The president didn't move at first. His face froze, brows pulled tight, lips parted slightly as if trying to confirm what his heart already knew. No one else seemed to recognize the man. But Ibrahim did. He stepped out of the armored vehicle, ignoring the aide trying to guide him toward the stage, ignoring the bodyguard's murmured protests in his earpiece. He crossed the hot pavement slowly, each step heavier than the last. The man on the curb finally looked up, and Ibrahim's breath caught. "Mr. Diallo?" he asked, his voice trembling, not with fear, but something deeper. Something old. Forgotten. Is that you?" The old man blinked, squinting through cataracts, and then his lips cracked into a dry, fragile smile. "You remember." It hit like thunder. The president, leader of a nation, commander of armies, voice of the revolution, dropped to his knees on the hot concrete, his face twisted with emotion. Without hesitation, he took the man's hand, trembling, weathered, and calloused with time. And then, to the shock of the entire crowd, cameras rolling, people gasping, security in chaos, President Ibrahim Traoré began to cry. Actual tears, rolling down his cheeks as he pressed the old man's hand to his forehead. No one knew why. But in that moment, the most powerful man in Burkina Faso became something else. A student, a son, a human being undone by a memory. What could make a president cry in the middle of the street? Who was this man that brought Ibrahim Traoré to his knees? You'll want to hear this story, all the way to the end. Let's go back, years before the crowds, before the title, before the tears. Before President Ibrahim Traoré was even a name anyone knew. The village of Bobo-Dioulasso in southwestern Burkina Faso had dust that never left your skin and a sun that could break your back if you dared challenge it. It was here, in a one-room schoolhouse with broken chalk and hope hanging on every wall, that a boy named Ibrahim would first meet the man who changed everything. Mr. Diallo wasn't like other teachers. He didn't yell. He didn't beat kids for wrong answers. And he certainly didn't give up on anyone, even the ones everyone else called hopeless. Like Ibrahim. At 10, Ibrahim was a runner. Not the athletic kind. The kind that vanished after the first 10 minutes of class, usually barefoot, often hungry, sometimes angry, always quiet. His father was gone. His mother worked fields until her hands bled. School was a dream made for other children. But Mr. Diallo saw something in the boy. Not just intelligence. Fire. Potential. He would wait for Ibrahim outside his hut, sit with him while he ate, walk him home when his feet gave out. He'd tutor him by lantern light and share his own dinner when Ibrahim's belly growled too loud to think. No one asked him to. There were no cameras. No scholarships. No thanks. Just belief. "Ibrahim," he used to say, tapping the boy's forehead gently, "this is your gold mine. Not the ground. Not the gun. Right here. Use it, and one day you'll shake the world." But it wasn't all warmth and wisdom. Ibrahim still skipped classes. Still fought boys twice his size. Still vanished for days when things got bad at home. There were nights he cried himself to sleep wishing he was someone else. And one day, he disappeared for good. Mr. Diallo waited by the same mango tree every evening for weeks. Then months. Then, never again. Years passed. Burkina Faso fell deeper into instability. Coups rose and fell like the harmattan winds. A new name began circulating among the youth. A young captain, fearless, strategic, with eyes that burned like fire in every interview. A soldier with vision. A commander who led from the front. His name was Ibrahim Traoré. And one day, he became president. But not even the sharpest journalists, the closest advisors, or the deepest dossiers knew the truth about who shaped that fire. Because Ibrahim never spoke of Mr. Diallo. Until today. Until that street. Until those tears. And none of them, not the ministers, not the foreign press, Not even the lifelong staff who'd worked alongside him in the military could understand what had just happened. Only one man knew, and he was too weak to stand. As Mr. Diallo's voice cracked through dry lips and swollen gums, he whispered something into Ibrahim's ear. Ibrahim closed his eyes. Then, in front of everyone, he stood and lifted Mr. Diallo into his arms. The crowd erupted, not with cheers, but with stunned silence. The cameras followed as he walked with the old man across the street, away from the motorcade, away from the microphones, straight toward a small white van waiting at the corner. No one knew what he was doing, but by the time the back doors opened and the crowd got a glimpse of what was inside, gasps echoed down the block. Because what they saw inside that van changed everything. The van's back doors swung open, and a gasp rippled through the crowd. Inside, neatly packed and gleaming under the dusty sunlight, was a portable medical unit. Not a flashy one, but clean, new, equipped with supplies that hospitals in some regions of Burkina Faso still lacked. The kind of setup you'd expect to find at a private clinic, not in the back of a van parked on a city street. President Ibrahim Traoré turned to the stunned audience. "This man," he said, his voice cracking but clear, "is the reason I am standing here today. The reason I ever believed I could become more than just another forgotten boy in a forgotten village. His name is Mr. Diallo. He was my teacher, my mentor, my first example of what true leadership looks like." The cameras captured everything, but they couldn't capture the weight in his words. "He's been living on the street. Sick. Alone. Unseen," he continued. "Not anymore." The president turned and gently helped Mr. Diallo into the medical van. "Today," he said quietly, "we begin to fix what we've ignored for too long." The news spread like wildfire. It wasn't just the image of the president in tears, it was the story behind it that captivated the country. Social media lit up. Posts flooded timelines across West Africa and beyond. "The president saved his homeless teacher" became the headline on every major platform. But back at the palace, things were far from calm. Because this public act of compassion, it didn't sit well with everyone. Inside the Ministry of National Education, a heated conversation was already underway. "He made us look incompetent," one advisor snapped. "He showed heart," another countered. "That man saved the president's future, and we left him on the streets." "And now," the first voice fired back, "now we'll have 1,000 former teachers lining up at the gates asking for miracles." But what they didn't know was this wasn't just about one man. Ibrahim had already started something bigger, something irreversible. Back in the medical van, as it drove toward the private wing of the city's top hospital, Mr. Diallo lay back against the cushions, too weak to sit up fully. His eyes fluttered open as the president sat beside him. "I thought you were gone," Mr. Diallo whispered. "You vanished, just like so many others." "I had to," Ibrahim said softly. "Things got dark. After my mother passed, I was taken in by an uncle in the north. He didn't believe in school, only discipline. By the time I escaped, you were gone. They told me you'd moved, that no one had seen you in years. I stayed until they closed the school." Ibrahim's fists clenched. "No one told me. I didn't want pity," Mr. Diallo said. "I wanted to believe. Maybe one of my students made it out. Just one. I'd be at peace knowing that." "You didn't save just one," Ibrahim said. "You saved a nation." But even as those words passed between them, Mr. Diallo coughed violently, his body shaking. The doctors exchanged looks, concern etched deep in their faces. Ibrahim stood, panic creeping into his voice. "What's happening?" "His lungs," one doctor replied gently. "He's dehydrated, malnourished. He needs rest. And tests. We'll do everything we can." And that's when the first sign of a deeper mystery surfaced. As the nurse cleaned his wounds and removed layers of tattered clothing, she froze. There, on the side of his torso, was a scar, a long, curved burn, old but jagged. Not from disease. Not from time. From fire. "Where did he get this?" she whispered. Ibrahim's face went blank. "I don't know." But he would find out soon enough. Because Mr. Diallo's life on the streets wasn't an accident. And someone had made sure he stayed invisible for a very specific reason. 3 days later, Mr. Diallo woke in a hospital bed with clean sheets, fresh water, and sunlight pouring in from tall windows. And Ibrahim was there again, sitting in the same chair, waiting. But Mr. Diallo's eyes held something new now: fear. "What happened to my records?" he asked suddenly. "What records? My teaching file, my pension, my evaluations. They all disappeared. Right after I testified." Testified? Ibrahim leaned in. Against who? Mr. Diallo hesitated. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. "If they know you're helping me, they'll come for you too." Ibrahim sat back, a coldness seeping into his spine. "Who will?" But Mr. Diallo just shook his head. And before Ibrahim could ask again, a nurse entered to administer medication, ending the moment. Outside the room, Ibrahim called his intelligence chief. "I need a list," he said flatly. "Anyone who worked in the Ministry of Education between 2003 and 2010. Especially those handling school closures and teacher audits." "You think there's something bigger behind this?" "I don't think," Ibrahim said, voice low. "I know." Meanwhile, across town, a man in a tailored gray suit stepped into a dark office with no name on the door. He closed it quietly, picked up a burner phone, and dialed. "He's found him," he said. There was silence on the other end. "Then make sure," the voice finally replied, calm and sharp as a blade, "that he doesn't remember anything else." And just like that, Mr. Diallo's life was in danger again, because the truth he carried was never meant to survive. Hey, if you're watching this and still with us, thank you. Quick favor, comment below and let us know where you're watching from. It really helps us understand how far this story is reaching. Also, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss what happens next. And let us ask you, if you were in President Ibrahim's shoes, what would you have done when you saw your old teacher suffering like that? Let us know in the comments below. Rain lashed against the windows of the hospital as night fell over Ouagadougou. The capital pulsed quietly under dark clouds, unaware that behind the polished glass of the presidential suite, history was about to be peeled open like a wound. President Ibrahim Traoré sat alone beside Mr. Diallo's hospital bed. The machines beeped steadily, but his mentor's breathing had become more labored. The old man drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes whispering fragments of the past that made no sense. Names, places, half-remembered warnings. Ibrahim leaned in. "You said you testified. Against who?" Mr. Diallo's eyelids fluttered. "The textbooks. The missing money." I spoke out. "I didn't think it mattered. I never thought they'd burn down the school." Ibrahim's body stiffened. "Wait, what did you say?" But Mr. Diallo's words faded again, swallowed by pain. That was the first time Ibrahim had heard that the school hadn't closed. It had burned. And no one had ever said a word. Back at the presidential compound, Captain Mamadou, head of internal security and Ibrahim's most trusted man, had gathered the names he'd been asked for. There were 3 officials in charge of school closures during that period, he said. 1 died. 1 fled to France. And the 3rd, Dr. Ismail Cabaret, is now the regional director of education in the East. What about the fire at Mr. Diallo's school? There's no record of a fire, Mamadou replied grimly. Officially, it was closed due to low performance and budget reallocation. Low performance? Ibrahim scoffed. He produced more university graduates than any teacher in the province. I know, Mamadou said, but records were erased. Like someone wanted him forgotten. Ibrahim clenched his jaw. Book me a flight. I want to talk to Dr. Cabaret. Personally. Sir, Mamadou said, lowering his voice, this might be deeper than just education corruption. If someone deliberately covered this up, they had powerful backing. People who might still be in your government. I'm not scared of ghosts, Ibrahim replied, standing. I want the truth. The flight to Fadan Gourma was quiet. No official press. No parade. Just a single armored vehicle and 2 men with questions burning like coals in their chests. They found Dr. Cabaret at a development summit, shaking hands and giving long speeches about literacy rates and transformational reform. He didn't recognize Ibrahim at first. He bowed deeply when the president entered, plastering on a wide, oiled smile. "Your Excellency, what an honor! If I had known—" "Save it," Ibrahim interrupted. "I'm not here for optics. I'm here about Bobo Primary School. 2008. Dr. Cabaret's face flickered. I'm not sure It burned to the ground, Ibrahim snapped. A man named Diallo taught there. Brilliant. Beloved. But your office listed the school as closed for poor performance. Why lie? There was a long pause. Too long. Finally, Dr. Cabaret leaned in, lowering his voice. You don't understand the politics back then. Diallo started asking questions. About the inflated textbook contracts. The fake teacher listings. We were under pressure. He wouldn't let it go. So someone silenced him. I didn't order the fire, Cabaret said quickly. But I didn't stop it either. There were rumors that he had a list. Names. Dates. Proof. But when the school burned, it all disappeared. Ibrahim's chest tightened. Did you know he survived? No one did, Cabaret said. We thought he left the country. Or, he didn't finish the sentence. Ibrahim stood, disgust rising in his throat. You'll make a full statement. On record. Of course, Cabaret said quickly. I'll cooperate. But as they turned to leave, Mamadou leaned in and whispered, We're being followed. Outside the summit, 2 motorbikes flanked their vehicle for nearly a mile before vanishing into a side street. No license plates. No insignia. This isn't over, Mamadou muttered. Someone's watching. And they know you're digging. Back in Ouagadougou, as the rain finally stopped, Mr. Diallo woke again. This time, he was clearer. And afraid. You have to stop, he told Ibrahim firmly. They'll come for you. I'm the president, Ibrahim replied. Let them try. You're not hearing me, Diallo said. I saw the contracts. The signatures. Some of them were army. Intelligence. These weren't just corrupt bureaucrats. They were part of something bigger. A fund tied to foreign donors. Millions meant for education. Stolen. I thought if I exposed it, people would do the right thing. Instead, he stopped, eyes hollow. They burned it down, with children inside. Silence fell between them. Ibrahim felt the air leave his lungs. You never told anyone. I tried. The police didn't listen. The papers were warned off. Then I lost my job, my pension, my home. I became a ghost. A ghost built by power, by fear, by a system that wanted people like him silent. I swear to you, Ibrahim said, voice shaking, I'm going to bring every single one of them down. Diallo looked at him with something between sorrow and pride. Just promise me, you'll survive it. But not everyone wanted the truth revealed. As Ibrahim returned to the palace later that night, Captain Mamadou pulled him aside. We intercepted chatter on a secure line. A hit was ordered. On who? Mr. Diallo. Ibrahim didn't hesitate. Double security. No visitors. Move him to an undisclosed wing. And Mamadou. Yes, sir. If anything happens to him, I want to know before the blood dries. Mamadou nodded grimly. Understood. But just as Ibrahim turned to head back into his office, an envelope slid under the palace gates. No address. No return stamp. Just one word written in thick black ink across the front. Remember. Inside was a single, charred photograph. A classroom. A name scrawled in the corner. Class of 07, Mr. Diallo's students. And in the very back row, a young Ibrahim, staring straight into the lens. Next to him, a boy with glasses. One who would later vanish without a trace. And the name written under him, Ismael Cabaret Jr. Let us ask you, have you ever uncovered a truth that changed how you saw everything? Tell us in the comments. We're reading every single one. The photograph sat under a heavy paperweight on Ibrahim's desk, the charred edges whispering secrets no one wanted told. He stared at the name for a long time, Ismael Cabaret Jr., the boy with glasses who had sat next to him all those years ago. He hadn't thought about Ismail in over a decade. They were inseparable back then, two curious kids in a world too big and too broken to understand. Ismail was the quiet one, always drawing, always asking why when everyone else stayed silent. Then one day, right before the final term, he vanished. Family moved, Mr. Diallo had said at the time, but something in his eyes had always felt off. Now Ibrahim knew why. Because if Ismail Jr. had survived, and if he knew what his father was hiding, he might be the key to everything. Mamadou's voice cut through the tension. We did some digging. Ismail Jr. was never listed on any transfer documents. No school records, no migration paperwork. It's like he disappeared completely. Or was disappeared, Ibrahim muttered. But Mamadou wasn't done. He slid a new file across the desk. There's one more thing. Ibrahim flipped it open and froze. A surveillance photo, taken 6 months ago. It showed a man walking through the Kaya market district. Slim, glasses, dark hoodie, carrying a stack of textbooks and flyers. Below it, a note, alias, JJ, community educator. Works with youth literacy programs. No verified ID. Ibrahim narrowed his eyes. That's him. You think he remembers? He's the only one who can confirm what happened before the fire. If he's alive, and he stayed hidden this long, it means he's scared. Which means he's worth finding. Mamadou nodded. I'll send a team. No, Ibrahim said. I'm going myself. Sir. He won't trust strangers. And if I don't move fast, someone else will get to him first. The drive to Kaya was quiet and tense. No motorcade this time. Just an old Toyota 4x4 and a president disguised in plain clothes. They parked near the edge of the open market, just before sundown, where children chased goats through narrow alleys and women balanced baskets of cassava on their heads. Ibrahim walked slowly, scanning the faces, searching for the ghost of a friend lost in time. Then he saw him. The same posture. The same quiet focus. Teaching 3 boys how to read, squatting on a low wooden bench outside a community center with peeling paint and a broken door. Ibrahim's heart thumped. He stepped forward and softly said, Ismail. The man stiffened. Slowly, he looked up. It took him a moment. He blinked, then squinted, then stood. Ibrahim, he whispered. The two stared at each other for a long second. Then a quiet smile spread across Ismail's face. You actually became president. You actually survived, Ibrahim said. Ismail looked over his shoulder. We can't talk here. Come with me. They sat in a small cement room behind the literacy center, lit by a single bulb swinging from the ceiling. I knew you'd find me eventually, Ismail said. Especially after what your father did. My father. Ibrahim blinked. My father was never in the picture. Ismail stared at him. That's not true. Ibrahim leaned forward. What are you talking about? Your father didn't abandon you. He was killed. The night before he was going to testify with my father and Mr. Diallo. He had proof, documents about the education fund fraud. He was going to turn them over. Ibrahim's face turned pale. No one ever told me that. They couldn't, Ismail said, because the people responsible were the same ones who controlled the story. After the fire, I was sent away. Witness protection, sort of. My mother hid me for as long as she could. Then she disappeared too. Do you have anything? Ibrahim asked, his voice shaky. Any proof? Ismail pulled out an old notebook from a hidden pocket in the wall. My father kept copies, names, bank accounts, even payouts. He knew what was coming. Ibrahim opened the notebook. There were names he recognized, names from his own cabinet. He looked up, eyes burning. This is enough to take them down. But it's not enough to protect Diallo, Ismail said. They already know you found him. That's why I've stayed hidden. They'll come for him again. Maybe for you too. Suddenly, Mamadou burst into the room, breathless. They struck. What? At the hospital, he said, voice tense. A man in a lab coat tried to inject Diallo with a neurotoxin. Security caught him just in time. He bit down on a capsule, took his own life. Ibrahim stood in a flash. Is Mr. Diallo safe? For now. But this was just the first try. They won't stop. Then neither will we, Ibrahim said. He turned to Ismail. You said you stayed hidden because you were scared. I get it. But right now, the truth you're sitting on could tear the rot out from the roots. Are you ready? Ismail hesitated, then slowly nodded. Let's burn it down, he said. Back in the capital, Ibrahim held a midnight meeting with 2 trusted allies. Only 3 people in the room besides himself, Captain Mamadou, his chief of justice, and the head of the national broadcaster. They read the names. They saw the proof. And they realized the horror of what had been buried. 5 top officials, including the current Minister of Internal Affairs and the former Chief of Education, had laundered over $20 million meant for public schools. 3 were foreign-backed. 1 was a sitting general. Ibrahim stood. We go public. Tomorrow night. Prime time. No edits. No filters. You're going to war, the Justice Minister said. I'm already in one, Ibrahim replied. But you need to prepare, Mamadou added. Because the moment you expose this, they'll hit back. Hard. Ibrahim nodded. And in that moment, a new fire lit behind his eyes. Not for revenge, but for justice. As dawn broke, Mr. Diallo sat up slowly in bed, the color returning to his cheeks. Ibrahim entered quietly, carrying the notebook Ismail had given him. I found him, he said softly. Mr. Diallo smiled faintly. I always believed you would. Then he looked at the president, not with fear, not with worry, but with hope. Ibrahim, he said, don't stop halfway. Finish it. And Ibrahim nodded, tucking the notebook under his arm. Because the storm was coming. And this time, the truth had a bodyguard. If you've come this far, take a second to like this video and hit that subscribe button. Thanks as you do so. The country held its breath as dusk fell over Ouagadougou. At exactly 8 p.m., every major channel in Burkina Faso went black for a few seconds. Then a single live feed lit up. President Ibrahim Traoré sat alone at his desk. No flag, no background music, no suit. Just a plain black shirt and the weary eyes of a man about to do something irreversible. He looked straight into the camera. There's something you need to know, he began. About your schools, about your children, and about the people who betrayed them. He placed the notebook gently on the desk. For years, money meant for education was stolen by those sworn to protect it. Schools burned. Teachers silenced. My own father murdered. Gasps echoed across living rooms and courtyards. I was 10 when it started. Too young to understand. But I never forgot. And neither did the man who taught me everything. Ibrahim paused. Then he told them about Mr. Diallo. The fire. The silencing. The cover-up. He showed the names. The documents. The accounts. He showed Ismail's notebook, scanned and verified by international auditors in secret. Real proof. Not rumors. And then, he looked into the lens with unflinching resolve. I'm ordering the immediate arrest of 5 senior officials, including the current Minister of Internal Affairs. A national inquiry begins tonight. And let this serve as a warning. If you steal from the people again, I will find you. The fallout was immediate. Within an hour, sirens wailed through government zones. 3 of the 5 suspects were caught before they could flee. 1 tried to bribe a guard with diamonds. It was recorded and leaked within minutes. But the 5th, General Malik Ouattara, once seen as a war hero, disappeared into the night. 2 days later, a convoy headed east was ambushed. Not by rebels. By traitors in military uniforms. Their target, President Ibrahim Traoré. Inside the lead vehicle, Ibrahim, Mamadou, and Ismail sat in tense silence. They were en route to a refugee-run learning center, planning to announce a new initiative in Mr. Diallo's name, the Phoenix Project, a scholarship fund for forgotten educators. The first bullet punched through the windshield. Tires screamed. Chaos erupted. Down! Mamadou shouted, diving across the seat as the truck behind them exploded. Machine guns lit the night sky. But Ibrahim didn't panic. He reached for a sidearm, handed one to Ismail, and shouted, "We end this tonight." The convoy returned fire, expertly trained security forming a human wall around the president. Mamadou coordinated flanking positions through gritted teeth. A burst of gunfire silenced 2 ambushers. Then, a shot. Mamadou dropped. Chest wound. "I'm fine," he growled, pressing his hand against the blood. "Keep moving." Ibrahim knelt beside him. "No. We finish this together." It lasted 7 minutes. When the gunfire stopped, 4 attackers lay dead. 2 captured. One had a military-grade satellite phone with only 1 number on it. Tracked to Côte d'Ivoire, a villa owned by General Malik Ouattara. Back in the capital, as Mamadou underwent surgery and the country surged with outrage, Ibrahim stood once more at the palace balcony. But this time, he wasn't alone. Mr. Diallo, thin but standing, walked slowly out beside him, leaning gently on a cane. The crowd below erupted, not just in cheers, but in something deeper. Recognition. Gratitude. Hope. Ibrahim raised his hand. Silence swept the plaza. "Change," he said, "starts not with power, but with truth. We can never undo what was stolen, but we can honor those who paid the price." He turned to Mr. Diallo. "This man taught me how to think, how to question, how to lead, but no one ever thanked him. Until today." Ibrahim placed a medal over his teacher's shoulders, his hands trembling slightly. From this day forward, April 13th will be known as National Educators' Day, in honor of Mr. Diallo, and every teacher forgotten by time. Mr. Diallo tried to speak, but emotion overtook him. He wept, quietly, proudly, and the crowd wept with him. A month later, the Phoenix Project launched with $12 million in seed funding, partly recovered from seized offshore accounts. Thousands of students applied. Hundreds of forgotten teachers were found and reinstated. And on the palace lawn, under a mango tree brought in from Bobo-Dioulasso, President Ibrahim sat beside Mr. Diallo. "I wish my father could see this," Ibrahim whispered. Mr. Diallo patted his hand. "He can." And as the sun dipped low, casting golden light over a land rising from its past, a question lingered in the air. What if we all had a Mr. Diallo? And more importantly, what if we chose to be one? Thank you for staying with us through this incredible journey. If this story moved you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes in the power of good teachers and even better leaders. Could you forgive a system that tried to erase you? Could you fight it with truth, not revenge? Let us know in the comments below. And always remember, the smallest acts of belief can shape the mightiest futures. This was the story of a teacher, a student, and a nation that remembered. Until next time, thanks once again.